4, 3, 2, 1. This is Deducter bringing you set 4, KT Rolster versus STX on the day 2 of the Pro League playoffs. Now KT Rolster has no choice but to bring out Stats to take on Hyvaa here. Stats is the red Protoss at the 7 o'clock. This is the map New Bloody Ridge. And Hyvaa is the brown Zerg at the 1 o'clock. So things not looking good at all for KT. They're down 0-3 and they have to win every single game. And I don't think they have the depth to make up for it. On the other hand, STX is in prime position to avenge their humiliating defeat yesterday. Well, it wasn't that humiliating, but you know, getting knocked out, or rather getting defeated 4-1, never too good for morale. Only marginally better than getting defeated 4-0, which if they can do so to KT will certainly lift their spirits. And KT is going to have to fight hard today, and almost certainly this is going to go on to day 3, the deciding series tomorrow. I feel at this point, very low probability of KT being able to reverse their defeat here, but stranger things have happened in the past. Looks like neither player is going to go for any sort of cheese early on, going to play it a bit safe. This is an STX fan. Earlier we saw a KT fan in the series. Clearly now STX on the verge of defeating KT, and so they are showing their support here. Good for them, I have to say. Overlord this is a 2-player map, so the Overlord is just moving over. Nothing unusual about that. Looks like an overpool coming out from Zerg player, which appears to be what Zerg players are always doing these days against Protoss, and that there are a number of options open to them. They can either go the standard SimCity type build, which doesn't really apply on this map since you can't really get up to 4 bases, or they can go for a 3-base, 5-hatch Hydra break. Always a devastating maneuver. Looks like a Nexus going down first. So this is a 12 Nexus, if you would. Well, it's Nexus first against Zerg. So this is actually be really, really bad for Stats, considering he hasn't scouted. He needs to put down his Forge, and should the Zerglings come out from the pool, which appears some Zerglings are being morphed, not the full complement. Natural going down here for the Zerg player here, and so I don't know whether those Zerglings might be able to catch Stats' cannon before they warp in, which would be absolutely disastrous for Stats, and this is the way that KT goes out. That would be just sad. 4 Zerglings coming out, not quite the full complement of 6, so I don't think Hyvaa here is, and now he sees what's going on. He realizes, of course, that if he morphed to 6 Zerglings, he might actually be in good shape, but Stats does know what's coming. He knows there are 4 Zerglings, so I think Hyvaa just wanted to put on a bit of pressure. He wasn't expecting Nexus first, a blind Nexus first build coming out here from Stats, and Stats bringing probes out to defend. I think he should be able to get his cannon up just barely. If this were a 9 pool, who knows what the outcome would be, and the probes even managing to pick off a Zergling. So Stats, very risky strategy, I have to say, but it did pay off for him. That probe also barely surviving. Things are going good here for Stats, but he is not out of danger yet. Should Hyvaa choose to morph a whole bunch of Zerglings, which he has not opted to, he's put down a hatchery at 3 o'clock. There is the danger of a breakthrough here. It does not appear Hyvaa has chosen that option, though, so Stats will, it turns out, be fine for now. Hyvaa has plenty of other opportunities to be able to attack through Stats' defenses here, but at least Stats perhaps getting lucky even, or perhaps he, knowing the tendency of Zerg to overpool these days, adjusted with the build that just is barely sufficient to ward off the incoming Zerglings. I still think these maneuvers can be very risky for the Protoss. Perhaps I am making it out to be more risky than it is. But I don't know. Full complement of 6 Zerglings, they may have been able to break through. If this were a 9 pool, I think full complement of 6 Zerglings, they would have broken through before the cannon was maybe at like 75%. If they could kill the cannon, it would be GG. So I don't know. I think that is indeed a very risky proposition. If you put down the, usually you're supposed to put down the Forge and then cannon to deal with 9 pool, or even an overpool, really, and then put down a Nexus. That is usually what you're supposed to do. In the absolute safest case, if there are like 3 hatches before pool, you can put down Nexus first, and then Gateway first, and then Forge. So there's a lot of variations, of course, in the opening. But Hydralist then, okay, that's standard. No layer! This is going to be a fast Hydra break coming from Hyvaa. Here's hoping that Stats scouts this. He's put down Sido and his Stargate and Templar Archives, so he's going to get Dark Templar out soon. That might actually be okay for him if there is no layer. Oh, okay, there is a layer. So I bet Hyvaa will research Overlord speed and just break down the front with enough Hydras. Too many Hydras for Stats to deal with. And there really isn't too much that Stats can do if he is caught unaware. The best thing to do is, of course, put down 5 more cannons and start getting some sort of heavy damage unit, whether it be Storm in the back or Reavers or something. Then Hydras, it doesn't matter if there are 50 Hydras, they're not going to be able to break through Reaver/Storm defense in conjunction with cannons and some Zealots through a choke point. No chance of Hydras breaking through there. And then Stats will be in good position. Stats with the Overlord, I mean not Overlord, his Corsair, going to hunt an Overlord. No, Stats, what are you doing? You need to scout this out. Stats is in serious danger of losing the game outright. He's going to see the Hydras, so Hyvaa showing his Hydras, letting the Corsair see it, and now Stats surely is putting down more cannons. He is frantically warping more forces, or more defenses rather. In the meantime, he is going for a bit of counterattack, trying to pick away at what Overlords he can. The Hydras are going to come in and start sniping the cannons, and looks like a disaster for Stats. One of the cannons go down. He needs to put down 3 or 5 more cannons, something like that. I don't know what Stats is doing with his time. He's got a Dark Templar out. That's going to do nothing against the Overlord in the front. Well, of course, the Dark Templar can't attack air, but it's going to be able to get killed very easily by all those Hydra. And Stats, he needs to put down more cannons. If he can hold out, he will be fine. If he cannot hold out, it will be an absolute disaster. Stats could micro his Corsairs a bit more. It looks like more hatcheries here and a Spire going down for Hyvaa. Hyvaa not even with Spire yet. These Dark Templar are sneaking out. Hyvaa not paying attention either. There were Zerglings in position to blockade that Dark Templar. I don't know what Hyvaa is doing. There are High Templar out. They need some time to get their energy up, and Storm, of course, to finish researching. If Stats can put down a few more cannons, or perhaps Stats knows better than I do. He hasn't really seen too many more Hydras out from Hyvaa, so maybe this wasn't an all-in Hydra break as I thought it would be, and Stats perhaps has responded in just the right manner here. Unfortunately, his harass not going to be too successful with the Dark Templar, picking off 2 drones. Managing to escape with the Dark Templar, at least, that's something. No Overlord speed out here from Hyvaa yet. So Stats looks like he's concentrating hard here. Good for him. Corsair out to deal with this Overlord in the middle. Still no Overlord speed. I think he would be wise to get it sooner rather than later. And in conjunction with with his Hydras, he might be able to break the front, but now it might be too late. There are 3 High Templar out. Surely some have energy. Hyvaa could attempt to build Mulus and dive bomb the High Templar and then try to break the front. This is, I guess, what he has to do now. He has built Mulus, and Stats does not have too many defenses against air. He's got some Corsairs and the cannons there, but if Hyvaa really wanted to kill the High Templar, he will be able to do so, I feel. He will also need a massive force of Hydralists in order to break the front, probably in excess of 20 or perhaps even in excess of 30 to guarantee a successful break by the time that he can attack, I feel, because I don't think with these few Mulus he will be able to finish off all the Templar. If he builds more Mulus, he will be able to finish off all the Templar, but then he won't have enough ground forces, so Stats is doing okay right now. Perhaps the Mulus are just going to dart in with the Scourge to try to pick off some Corsairs. They are attacking a few probes here, doing a reasonable amount of damage. Stats is trying to respond, but Scourge are coming out. Stats having nothing in the backfield here, unfortunately, to defend. One of the Corsairs going down, so nice attack here by Hyvaa, I have to say. Doing a lot of economic damage, picking off a good number of the Corsairs. Some Dragoons are out, and the Storm missing the Mulus and storming his own Corsairs. Stats, things are not looking good for Stats. Stats forced to waste his Storm and killing his own probes. Disaster, I have to say, here for Stats. Those Mulus have more than paid off. To say, well managed there by Hyvaa. Hyvaa is morphing more drones and Hydralists. He is now massing up his ground forces to try to achieve some sort of breakthrough. Those Templar will likely have more energy for additional storms when the battle does come, and there is always the risk of the economy here of Stats being too damaged to be able to build enough forces, considering he's lost probably a dozen probes already in this game. And most of his Air Force appears to be gone. That's not going to help him against those Mulists at all. So, things not necessarily looking too good for stats. There are a lot of Hydralisks out, it looks like. And he's getting close to, the 30 or 40 Hydralisks needed to break the front. He's also working all sorts of Zerglings. And a Queen's Nest, perhaps he will go to Hive, get Crack, upgrade, and then Adrenaline, Lance, upgrade, and using his Mulist to pin down Stats in the meantime, and then make an absolutely massive breakthrough at the front. And at that point, I am not quite sure what Stats will be able to do. Stats killing one of his own cannons because he can't get out of his base. Oh, that's not going to help him in these dire straits. I think Stats is in very great danger here. I think everything will depend on the big battle that will be coming out soon. Lots of Zerglings being worked. Looks like just the right unit composition here to deal with Stats with the Mulist. Looks like the Mulist of Hyvaa, not Modesty, Hyvaa here has spotted the unit composition, of course, of Stats, and he knows more Zerglings to deal with these Dragoons are exactly what he needs. Stats is desperately trying to set up a new base here. Mulist again coming into main, picking off the odd probe or two, making another foray into the mineral lines here. Storm completely missing the Mulist. Things not going well at all here for Stats. Stats had a Shadow out, perhaps he was hoping to load some Templar in there. And these Mulist Templar drop perhaps coming out from Stats. This could be something, I don't know, even a Templar drop could be dangerous. The Zerglings don't even have speed yet. He should probably upgrade speed and Crack, speed very important for the Zerglings too. So it looks like Stats is going to make a push out. He might be trying to Storm Drop and attack at the front. I just worry that if he does a Storm Drop, he's not going to have the storms necessary to deal with the Hydras, which could also be disastrous. In fact, I think he might almost be better off saving his Storms. But no, he's going to drop the Dark Templar and a Storm. High Templar here killing 3 drones, it looks like. Hyvaa is responding well. Shadow going down here. Good Storm Spy by Stats, able to kill 11 to 6 kills. Okay, 17 kills, more than worth it, I have to say. Plus, it distracted Hyvaa. It forced him to send a lot of his forces back. Dark Templar was taken care of fairly easily by Hyvaa's Hydras that he sent back. And Stats looks like going to be able to protect his third base for now. Hyvaa, though, I still think he's in fine position. He'll be able to rebuild his drones, not morphing too many units from all the hatcheries he put down. Perhaps that economic harass did a bit more damage than I thought. The Storm Drop. Regardless, Hyvaa has an absolutely massive ground army, and he would be wise to use it sooner rather than later. The Korean observers are pointing out how there are nothing being morphed from all the hatcheries, which is highly unusual for a Zerg player. So perhaps that attack really did do quite a bit more damage than I thought. Stats now has a decent-sized army in the field. He also is going to be able to set up his third base. I feel Hyvaa would be wise again to attack sooner rather than later. 3-base Protoss should be able to beat 3-base Zerg without too much of an issue, and perhaps Hyvaa would be wise to put down more defenses there at his base. The new base he set up. This Archon's going to get caught. That's not good. Archons are a very powerful offensive unit. There's no reason for them to get caught in the field and destroyed, isolated like that. Stats, I don't know why he sent that Archon up there. Probably just a mismicro. The Filer is going to be out here soon. Hyvaa really wants to wait for all his tech. I don't know actually whether waiting will be in his favor here. Perhaps so. With Swarm, he'll be able, and Plague, he'll be able to deal with nearly everything here. Massive attack here coming in by Stats. Stats needs to storm the ramp protecting his base here. Good storm. He needs some more storms there, and looks like Stats not able to make a breakthrough here at the front. He's losing a lot of units in his attempt to break through the front. The storms have killed a lot of units, but he just doesn't have enough defenses there. Stats forced to retreat all his forces to try to save this base. It looks like he is not going to save it. This is what I said. Stats should have more cannons here. Stats getting caught out of position. He's retreating his entire army over here, but it's going to be way too late. He's going to lose all the probes and the Nexus. And it looks like with this maneuver, not even a particularly brilliant maneuver, it was just a brute force assault up the ramp. And Stats, if he had just a tad more, would be able to defend it comfortably. Stats trying to push at the front during this time. So Stats is not going to be able to break up a ramp now with 4 lurkers and a whole bunch of Hydras. And Hyvaa doesn't really need to withdraw that army. He just needs to stop Stats from setting up an expansion there, and he'll be fine. he'll starve stats out sooner or later at this rate. Hyvaa will probably be wise to put down expansion stats, though. Attacking there at the natural, it looks like there were no drones probably withdrawn. There needs to be another storm here at the main. Good job by stats, killing a few more drones. And those Zerglings trying to kill the Zealots, and now finally able to overwhelm the few Zealots left. The High Templar not with enough energy for a second storm. His stats desperately trying to fight his way up the ramp here. This action is just going to waste more and more time for him. More lurkers are being morphed here. Hyvaa really taking advantage of this force that he managed to break up the ramp and really distracting stats. This is not a productive enterprise. Stats will finally be able to wipe out this army, it looks like, but I'm not sure whether it has been completely worth it. Hyvaa should... Well, on the other hand, Hyvaa's economy is not too good. I always thought he would be able to repopulate his economy fairly easily, and Stats cannot lose all these Templar out in the middle of the field. That would be an absolute disaster here for Stats. He has managed to save most of them. I would still have to give Hyvaa significant advantage at this point. Stats doing good storms, I have to say, killing a lot of Zerg units, and Hyvaa going to be forced back for now. Swarm coming out from his defilers. I thought that attack by Hyvaa was great. Plague now, all sorts of Plague. Hyvaa moving additional forces into position to deal with these Plague Protoss units. Great storm, all of those lurkers under the swarm. In some ways, swarm is storm bait. More Zerglings being rushed out here for Hyvaa. And I don't know what the ground attack upgrade for Stats is, but Hyvaa has +1 Carapace finish. Hyvaa is going to lose both his defilers here. Massive Zergling attack looks like incoming all over these weakened units. More storms are going down. He needs to buy time until the Archons morph. If those two Archons can morph in time, so many storms going down. The Zergling's not doing anything. And now with more Archons coming out, Archons are fantastic against Zerglings. Hyvaa is now finally repopulated all his hatcheries, all his bases with drones. But he's exhausted all of his forces. I mean, I thought Hyvaa was fine after his attack at the 9 o'clock, and he just had to hold out there and rebuild his economy, but it looks like his economy not doing too great. He probably should have expanded, too, during the interim when Stats was wasting all his time attacking up that ramp. I mean, that bought Hyvaa like 2 minutes, or free time to do whatever he wanted. But Hyvaa has not opted to spend this time particularly wisely. He's morphed some units, it seems, and he's launched another attack that didn't work. Still, Hyvaa, I think, can defeat this if he's careful. Some Zerglings able to catch some Zealots and a High Templar out in the middle of the field like this, and massive battle here in the middle between Zerglings and whatnot, and Zealots, I should say, not whatnot, Zealots. Zergling on Zealot action here. Zealot do only have +1 attack upgrade. If they have +2, that would be a massive advantage for the Zealots. Fortunately, that is not the case here, and Hyvaa going to burrow some more units to defend. Stats has re-established control over his third base. Hyvaa now building all sorts of units from his hatcheries. And where are... And another storm drop! No, the Templar didn't kill anything, so those drones must have just been withdrawn in time by Hyvaa. So that's why. Stats has 6 Archons, absolutely devastating number of Archons against Zerglings. I don't know whether this Zergling heavy strategy is necessarily wise coming from Hyvaa here. Stats though, he would probably be wise to use stealth units like Dark Templar to make sure there are no new bases for the Zerg guys set up, and do his best to try to get his own base up. I don't think he should force an attack, but Stats is going to force an attack. He's managed to sneak some units here up the ramp at the 3 o'clock. Hyvaa has nothing up that ramp to defend except a whole bunch of Zerglings that morph just in time. Perhaps a storm or two over those drones could save Stats here. I don't know why that Templar is not storming. Probably doesn't have enough energy. Those Zealots and the Archon fighting hard up the ramp and killing most of the units there. And they might be able to pick off a hatchery or two. Hyvaa is counterattacking here at the 9 o'clock base. Storms though going off, and there are a lot of swarms and storms all over the place. I can't tell who might be able to break through here. It looks like Hyvaa is going to be stymied, at least temporarily. So Stats still has units at the 3 o'clock base. He is going to be able to pick off at least one of the hatcheries. It looks like big storms all over those swarming. Impossible to tell what is going on. Stats again trying to sneak some units up that ramp. There are these lurkers beneath the ramp. Archon getting morphed there on the ramp, and it looks like Hyvaa has broken through finally at the 9 o'clock. He's gonna be able to kill most of the probes. At the same time, Stats has broken through at the 3 o'clock. Hyvaa has way too many Zerglings there to deal with. These Zealots fighting valiantly, but eventually overwhelmed here. Only the Archon is left. A nice observer snipe there, and that lurker is almost going to go down. See that Archon? That Archon did what 7 Zealots could not do. slaughtering everything. Storm there, finishing off the Lurker and the Defiler. Both players taking heavy losses here. I think the key difference is that Hyvaa managed to withdraw his drones, whereas Stats did not withdraw his probes. So Stats' economy has got to be in shambles again now. And both players really persisting on what few bases they have. Stats is mining out his main. He's probably almost mining out his natural. He needs to get his probes mining now. Stats sending everything he has to try to protect this base. Again, I don't think protecting the base is too difficult, especially for a Protoss. Reaver in the back, a few cannons in the front, some storms, and big battle again here. Hyvaa is throwing everything he has to try to shut down this base. He knows if he can shut it down, he will win the game. Archon in the back, doing all sorts of damage. Great storms again, and that Archon with 20 kills. Fantastic storm. That Archon taking out the Zergling with all its shields gone, but yet more units streaming in for Hyvaa. Dark Templar here too. That's going to help since there is no detection at all for Hyvaa. More Archons being more, and just so many Zerglings streaming in. I don't think they will be able to break this base unless they mass up for another massive assault here. Those Archons absolutely critical in this game for Stats. Templar living just barely. You can see these Archons slaughtering all sorts of Zerglings again. Zerglings suck against Archon, I have to say. Massive battle here yet again. Well, not massive, but Zerglings trying to break through, and it looks like Stats is just going to be able to hold his defense barely. Hyvaa is sending his forces into piecemeal now. He probably would be wise to mass up or expand during this time. He is putting expansion now at the 5 o'clock, it looks like, and Hyvaa finally realizing assaulting up the ramp probably not the best way to go. Trying to snipe some units as best he can and bait these storms. That's probably the better action. These Zerglings are coming. Dark Templar are going to be able to kill them, but it does not look like they will be too fast there. Finally, most of the Zerglings in this renewed assault have been shut down. So Hyvaa not able to break through. He has re-established mining, I assume, at his base at the 3 o'clock, and Stats going to catch some of these Lurkers morphing out in the middle of the field. Not what Hyvaa needs at this point, when his forces have been significantly diminished. Again, very difficult to tell who is ahead. By food count, it appears Stats is ahead, but Zerg can usually work well. Apologize about the cough there. Zerg can usually work well off lower food count. Again, Archons plus Zealots, devastating against Zerglings. Plus 2 attack, finish upgrade for the Zealots here. And let's see what Carapace upgrade, plus 2 Carapace also finished. Plus 3 attack, I think, is the critical attack for the Archons. Then they kill Zerglings one hit regardless of what upgrades the Zerglings have, which is absolutely vital in one hit. So Archons just destroy Zerglings, absolutely annihilate them. A lot of Templar out here from Stats. He would probably be wise to try to protect them as best he can. I guess he just doesn't have the minerals really to build anything besides Templar at this point. Stats would also be wise to either shut down the expansion or expand himself again. He is going to attack this base here at 5 o'clock. He's got plenty of Templar incoming, using the Observer, and these Lurkers aren't going to force him back for now. Looks like Hyvaa is coming in for a surround attack. Stats is wise to this, though. Playing all of these units, Stats needs to storm like crazy. He is storming very well, I have to say, killing most of the Zerglings, although most of his ground forces have been diminished here. He's got nothing but Templar and Archons left at this point. Whereas Hyvaa, if he can get mining established, he will be fine. Stats is down to 1 mining base. Hyvaa, it looks like, is almost mined out too. He really needs his mining base there to work for him at the new one he established. Hyvaa, again, trying to break up this ramp. Good plague, I have to say, and most of those Zealots are severely weakened. More storms all over the map. And Stats holding his own as best he can here. Hyvaa finally breaking through the defenses here. This could be a disaster if there's nothing to deal with these Zerglings. If Stats lose this base, there will be nothing that Stats can do to come back in this game. And Stats not only bring the Archon to do this, those Zerglings are going to focus fire down on the Nexus. And Stats is counterattacking at the same time. I don't know what the Nexus will do now. Archon's not the fastest unit. Unfortunately, the Nexus is going to survive here. It looks like Stats trying to attack at the front, but not able to break through either. A great storm here by Stats, killing all sorts of units. Hyvaa not going to be able to send any forces, I feel, to renew his assault for now. But has Stats just lost too much? He's lost so many probes. Both players really, look, I'm not sure they know who's going to win at this point. I think this game is still quite close to call. I would have to give Hyvaa an advantage here, and if Hyvaa can wipe out this army, that would also be good. Both players just not quite able to accomplish their goals. It looks like Hyvaa will be able to wipe out this army, and Stats has almost nothing left, unfortunately for him. He has a few more Templar out, and he's got the odd Zealot or two out, but all Hyvaa needs to do is concentrate every last one of his forces to break through at that 9 o'clock and destroy it. Stats going to use his Dark Templar as best he can, but without air superiority. And how great would a few Corsairs be right now? If Stats have persisted in building some Corsairs and keeping them reserved, unleashing them during, not even this moment, but during all the battles having taken place on the field, he would surely have killed so many Overlords. A dead Overlord means 4 fewer Zerglings, which would also help him. So, both players really in some desperate straits here. I think Stats is certainly worse off. Hyvaa, if he really wants to break through, should be able to do so. Swarms up the ramp and concentrating everything he has to break down the Nexus should work for him. Hyvaa and Stats both down to 1 mining base, it looks like. The game is still rather close, difficult to decide. I think Stats also realized that Hyvaa is only down to his base there at the 5 o'clock, but Stats just unable to attack. His forces aren't nearly as fast. Hyvaa is bringing up a Defiler. He might be able to break through if he can get a good swarm and some plagues off. These are Zealots getting caught a bit out in the field there, having killed one of the Defilers. I actually don't think Hyvaa will mind the loss of the Defilers too much at this point. He's got plenty of gas in the bank, and these Templar might get caught. Ooh, Templar somehow dodging the storm, but the Zerglings also dodging the storm. Defiler out here. Only +2 attack and +2 armor. Seems like both players are sort of equal in that respect. More Archons being morphed in the back. Hyvaa is bringing up the Lurkers and his Zerglings. He wants to launch a massive breakthrough assault here, and that is exactly what he's doing, but not quite able to accomplish that. These Zerglings against the weakened Plague Zealots are going to do very, very well here. Lurkers coming. That Lurker, they're trying to cut off Stats' reinforcements. I think that is wise. Hyvaa now able to sneak some links up the ramp, possibly. No, that Archon probably should not fight under that swarm. Archon damage is reduced to splash only under the swarm, and these Archons, absolutely heroic Archons, holding back the tide of the absolutely ferocious onslaught of Zerg units here, and that is what the Archons are. Power overwhelming indeed, forcing Hyvaa back. And Hyvaa, those Archons have been the bane of his existence this entire game. Time and time again, the Archons have stood their ground where their lesser Protoss brethren, I should say, have fallen. Somehow that Templar has 32 kills. What exactly has it been killing this entire time? Even the observers didn't catch this until now. Probably sniping Zerglings as they come. That is an assassin there. That is how you employ Dark Templar. Battle again in the middle of the map here. Archon with 26 kills. Again, holding back the tide, the swarm of Zerg units, and somehow just barely surviving. Perhaps that would be wise to put down at least 1 shield battery, and that Dark Templar flank going down. He has put down a shield battery to replenish the shields on his Archons. Cheap investment of only 100 minerals can extend the lifespan of his Archons considerably. At this point, being economic with your resources is key. So many more Defilers coming out. Seems like Hyvaa has decided, I have so much gas, I'm just going to swarm the front with Defilers, plague and swarm every single tile on the map, at least in this vicinity. That's how I'm going to break through. All sorts of plagues going down. And Hyvaa, that is his strategy. Unfortunately, Plague's not too good against Archons. A Swarm, though, is quite good. Photon Cannon trying to come up here. Oh, that Archon unfortunately getting caught as morph. That is quite bad. I think at this point it is very important for Stats to be careful. If necessary, just morph his Archon somewhere safe. Because the Archons are the only thing holding back the massive Zerg assault. As long as he has several Archons up, I don't think Hyvaa will be able to break through. But as soon as he loses his Archon force, Hyvaa will be able to rampage all of the few defenses remaining here for Stats. This battle is really coming down to the why can't I recall the word? I am having a mental break here, but the battle is very close. It is coming down to a wire. That's the word, coming down to a wire here. And I still can't tell who is ahead. None of the hatcheries are really producing much here for Hyvaa, it looks like. The observers are commentating and pointing that out. And stats, though, both players with one mining base. Looks like more of a lurker-heavy strategy coming in here from Hyvaa. That's probably wise. Lurker's fantastic against Plague Zealots, and they can hold their own against Archons. Stats looks like he might be trying to set up a new base. This might be Hyvaa's opportunity. If he can catch Stats as he's doing this, he might be able to, and if Stats can get the base up, it will be GG for Hyvaa. Good storm there. Hyvaa microing hard with his units, using the Zealots to protect the morphing Archons. That's what he needs to do. Stats would be wise not to try any sort of assault. I think that would certainly end in disaster. He needs to hold his ground here and not press his luck. Catching Defilers out on the field is great stuff. And Stats, I think, has been a great defensive player in this game. He hasn't really been able to break through. And hat-trick going down at the 12 o'clock here for Hyvaa. Both players deciding to expand at this point. Massive attack here coming in from Hyvaa. He knows if he can break Stats at one point, he'll win. +1 range attack upgrade finished, by the way, for Hyvaa's forces. Storm all of those Scourge. Perhaps Stats would be wiser saving the storms here for these Zerg units that are incoming. Defiler there. A Dark Archon even would be a fantastic investment at this point. Feedback would slaughter all those Defilers. Swarms going down, so it looks like the Swarms are going to try to protect the Lurkers as they inch their way up here. Lurkers attacking that Archon. Shield battery is also what would be needed here for Stats on top of that ramp, and it looks like those Archons are being more. This is Hyvaa's chance. Stats' army is out of position. If he can break up the ramp and burn down that Nexus, he will be fine. This battle is coming to down to the wire again. That Archon is fighting under the Swarm, unfortunately not too effective. Hyvaa, though, Stats is microing his Archon, looks like trying to stay out of the Swarm. But it's not enough. That Archon, even with 38 kills, not quite able to. Storm finishing off all the Zerg units attacking up that ramp. The Nexus is just finished, and Stats really needs that base now. I guess he's probably better off transferring all his probes over. Great storms, all of these, but that storm missing. These two Archons again, slaughtering most of the Zerglings. Another Archon has morphed just in time and microing the Archons too. Archons and Zealot, only a few units here left for Stats. There are enough Zerglings, it looks like, to be able to take this game. Perhaps the Swarms have been critical in nullifying most of the damage from the Archons. There are Lurkers down there too. Lurkers will be absolutely critical. There are Zerglings there running amok on the probes, and so many more reinforcements coming for Hyvaa. Ultimately, Stats not able to stop this onslaught, I feel, and with this, surely is GG for Stats. He's going to be out of resources. These Archons fighting like crazy, somehow still surviving. Great swarm there by Hyvaa, and somehow these Archons are still alive. Absolutely astonishing, but just too little, too late. GG coming from Stats. Epic defense, I have to say. I can't brag on Stats too much, but Hyvaa managing to achieve breakthrough, avenging their defeat from yesterday. So looks like STX is going to win 4-0 over KT today. Hyvaa looking quite pleased for himself. Very good ZVP, I have to say. Thank you for watching.
정말 끔찍한 상황, 하지만 멋진 경기력을 보여줬습니다. 어떡하죠? 저 어지러워요. 저도 어지럽네요. 그럴 정도로 정말 양 선수 모두 다